Hello and welcome to the Slingshot channel. Today we are looking at a piece of archery history. The 30 years old Darton Stinger IT. A funny mixture between a bow, a crossbow and a wrist rocket. Let me show you its features. Yes, as you see, the Darton is a really peculiar bow design. It has an armrest, and it really is an armrest. It's not a wrist rest because it actually rests against your upper arm, not your forearm. So very funny. The design also involves a bow that actually can swing a little bit up and down. So you're supposed to hold it like on a 45-degree angle, and this means it's actually going to do this, and it's not in your control, and I think that has been done for a reason. However, I never understood the reason that they have for this. In any case, it has like a handle that is 90 degrees rotated towards the bow limbs. It is a compound bow, yeah, it has an adjustable draw length, but the draw length adjustment is very simple because you got different ways to mount the handle. The more forward you go with the handle, of course, the longer you draw, and the other way around. So it's pretty clear. If you hold the bow here, then your draw is like here. But if you put it all the way to the front, it comes closer to your face and you have to draw out more far. So not really sure why they do this. It doesn't really change the dynamics of the bow, but it does change the way how you hold it. The bow has a very simple arrow rest, and of course today people would use a whisker biscuit. At that time the whisker biscuit was probably not invented yet, or if invented then it was not common. So it's a very simple arrow rest that I don't really like a lot because it's so easy for the arrow to drop out. In any case, you can also see that way back then they made really small cams. Today modern bows have much bigger cams and also shorter limbs. So that changed a bit. Other than that, of course, it's a compound bow. They had some features that were typical for that time, like the middle string that was exchangeable. And also I can say that this was not only a bow that could be adjusted in power. I always go for the full power, so this is a 70-pound adjustment now, pretty strong. But you can actually reduce the draw weight by turning out these screws here. And if you do this, you can go down to probably, 40 pounds, maybe even below that. And then you can also even loosen them further, and then you can exchange the string here without any specific tools like a bow press or so on. I think it's also a great feature. Later on they abandoned this, and I believe mostly because there are heavy lead pieces here, or probably steel, I don't know, it looks like lead. But in any case, it could be a danger. If the string tears, then this would be very dangerous. So I think they eventually got rid of this. Although it is handy if you need to exchange the string, and you can see that my middle serving here already suffered a little bit. Although I have to say that when I got the bow, I think it was probably never used. It looked pretty new. And there is a sighting system on it that's definitely not the original, because it's a Viper sighting system, and it was completely off. But also the bow does not have a Peep Sight installed, and therefore I think it is really hard to aim with this. I cannot. I simply use the arrow and aim along the arrow shaft because I think the sight is useless. In any case, you would wonder why they put this on here. And yes, of course, it gives you a certain freedom of moving the bow in cocked condition. But on the other hand, is it really important? I don't really think so. I think they just tried to solve a problem that wasn't even there. They should have gone for just a fixed handle like more modern bows do. And then they have this thing here on the end, which is adjustable too. And the previous owner, who sold it to me for 250 euros, actually made a stand. So you could just put this on a stand and it looks pretty nice in the shelf. But I think originally it was done to be, for a counterweight, and then you would actually put it to the front. So to give the bow some counterweight. I don't think it's necessary, but I think that's why they put it on there. You can also see that the bow does not really have a D-loop, or it doesn't have a D-loop. And I think that was pretty common in the early days of compound bows. Actually, I found an old brochure from Darton, and in the picture that you can't really see well, but I think the guy wasn't even using a bow release. He just he was pulling the bow with the fingers. Now I find this very dangerous because on compound bows, if you draw out with your fingers and it's really a tough draw weight, then very often the string will jump off the wheels, and then of course you got some repair work to do. But it's not a problem. You can simply clamp the bow release underneath the knocking point, and then 70 pounds. Then of course it's still very serious. All right. Okay, let's find out how fast an arrow shot from a 30-year-old compound bow would fly. I'm actually shooting a fairly heavy arrow. It weighs about 33 grams. So let's see if the FX Vada crony is going to catch it. Yeah. 75 meters per second. Not bad, not bad. Now, how does it compare to a bow that actually is already old? But this is 20 years younger, so this is about 10 years old. I think I bought it like in 2011 or something. It's a Liberty 1 bow. It's still available, and I think it's still one of the nicest bows there are. And as you see, it also has a handle that is a little bit canted, not 90 degree, but a little bit. And this also allowed it to shoot riserless, so the bow doesn't have a riser. Therefore it is really small, but it's powerful. It has the same draw weight, 70 pounds. So, and of course it already uses more modern things. And it already uses features like a whisker biscuit, which I think is superior. It has a D-loop for a better, more clean release. And of course it has the larger cams that are fashionable today and that are absolutely necessary for a better let-off. So the let-off on this bow here is a lot lower than the let-off on the Darton, which they say is a 65%, and I think this is more like a 90%. So it's a huge difference. In any case, let's see how this performs with the same arrow weight and the same draw weight and almost the same draw length. And it feels much easier to hold because of the let-off. This feels much like a cocked crossbow. Okay. 76 meters per second. That's almost identical. It's just 1 meter per second, and that's probably the tolerance. So the bows are about even. I have to say though that this definitely has the easier shooting, just because the let-off is so much stronger, and also it's much less clumsy. See, this is the advantage. This one doesn't have that stupid joint thing that costs them a lot of weight, and also it does not necessary to go all like 90 degrees. As you see, this angle was perfectly functional, and it makes the bow like same compactness as a normal bow, except of course it's a lot shorter. So the Darton guys actually said in their brochure that this is probably the biggest archery innovation ever since the compound came along. Well, I don't know what came in between, but I have to say, with all due respect, you know, they have done some innovation work here, so I respect this. But I think that a few of the stuff that they came up with was just not worth the efforts, and therefore it wasn't a success. Darton, I think, is still around, but they no longer make this model. But actually there is a company who makes a very similar one. It's called Chirico, and the Chirico bow actually looks much like the Darton. It also has like a wrist pocket-like arm rest, but it doesn't have this kind of joint here. So that part they skipped and they went with the fixed mounted. I've never shot one of theirs. Still, interesting bow concept. Well, I like everything that is exotic, and same here. So what is my verdict on the Darton arm-braced, joint, you know, kind of, yeah, wrist rocket bow? Interesting concept, interesting piece of archery history, and it wasn't a success for a reason. Anyway, I hope you like this, because that's it for today. Thanks, and I'm getting tired. Let me see if I can get one more crony reading. Okay. 74 meters per second. At least it's consistent. Thanks and bye-bye.